Welcome to e-commerce psychology, the deep dive that takes your curated sources and extracts the knowledge you need fast.
And we do it fast.
Today, we're tackling something really interesting based on what you've shared, the IKEA effect.
Yeah.
It's more than just surviving flat pack furniture.
Yeah.
It's about why we tend to value things more when we've put a little bit of ourselves into making them,
Right.
you know.
Put some sweat equity into it.
Exactly.
Literally and figuratively.
So we're going to explore exactly what this IKEA effect is, the psychology that drives it, that feeling of effort leading to increased appreciation,
Yeah.
and crucially for you, how this can be a game changer for your business.
Absolute.
Think about how understanding this could completely change the way you connect with your customers.
Yeah, for sure.
Our goal today is to break this down so you walk away with concrete ideas you can use,
Right.
not just a collection of facts.
Actionable stuff.
This deep dive is powered by Growth Suite.
Yes, it is.
Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store.
Easy.
Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Do it.
All right, so
I'm excited to dive in.
me too.
What's fascinating about this is how this seemingly simple idea, like the IKEA effect, taps into some really fundamental aspects of being human
Right.
from our inherent desire to feel competent.
Like we did something.
Exactly.
We achieved something.
To the mental gymnastics we do to justify our efforts.
Yes.
Like, oh, I spent all this time on this, so it must be valuable.
It's got to be good.
We're going to look at the research that supports this and how it plays out in the real world, especially when it comes to e-commerce.
Okay, so let's dive in. The IKEA effect, as the name pretty clearly suggests, is this tendency we have to put a higher value on things we've helped to create.
Right.
Now, this builds on something you might have heard of, the mere exposure effect. Basically, we tend to like things just because they're familiar.
Familiarity breeds not contempt, but liking,
Exactly.
or at least a lack of contempt.
But the IKEA effect kicks it up a notch.
Yeah, it takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
It's not just familiarity. It's like, I built this thing.
Right.
So there's a little bit extra there.
There's that extra emotional connection.
Back in the 2010s, researchers Norton Moshon and Air Ailey,
Yeah, I remember reading about these guys.
yeah, they really got to the bottom of this. Their research showed that even when people put in a relatively small amount of effort to assemble something,
Right.
they end up liking it more than if it simply arrived fully assembled. That little surge of satisfaction when you finally conquer those confusing
Oh,
instructions
tell me about it.
and have a finished product. That's
Right.
part of it.
Totally. And it's not just about furniture, right?
No, not at all.
The sources you shared had some great examples.
Oh, yeah.
Think about those meal kits where you're chopping veggies and following recipes.
Yeah,
You feel a lot more invested in that final plate of food.
absolutely.
Or even designing your own sneakers online, picking out all the colors and materials.
Oh, that's a good one.
That little bit of creation makes them feel way more special than just grabbing a pair off the shelf.
Way more special.
Yeah.
Because it's unique to you.
They've got a hand in it.
Yeah, what's really interesting about these examples is that they connect to something deep in our wiring. Like when we do something hands-on, it seems to spark activity in our brains that creates a sense of ownership.
Interesting.
It's almost like our brain says, I put work into this,
Right.
so it's mine. And because it's mine, it must be valuable.
And there's also this interesting mental trick we play on ourselves, right?
Huh.
Something about justifying the effort we put in.
Exactly. We invest our time and energy into something, and our brains don't really like the idea that we might have wasted that effort.
We don't want to admit defeat.
No, we don't want to feel like we wasted time.
Right.
So we subconsciously rationalize it by boosting how much we value the outcome. It's like our way of saying all that time I spent fiddling with those tiny screws was worth it because this thing is actually really fantastic.
That totally resonates with me. It's like spending hours on a really complicated puzzle. When you finally snap that last piece into place, it feels like such a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
Way more satisfying than if someone had just handed you the finished picture.
Oh, for sure. There's no way you'd get that same feeling.
And it goes beyond just justifying our effort. When we build something ourselves, it also taps into our sense of being capable,
Yeah.
our self-efficacy.
Our competence.
Like, hey, I can actually do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And that little boost to our confidence strengthens our emotional connection to what we've created.
Yeah, it's almost like a little trophy,
The object becomes a little trophy saying you did a good job.
Exactly.
So beyond that personal sense of satisfaction,
Yeah.
what's the real payoff for businesses, especially in the world of e-commerce?
There's some pretty significant business advantages.
Like what?
One of the most obvious, and it came up in the materials you provided, is the potential for cost savings.
Right.
If customers are willing to do some of the final assembly,
Like with IKEA.
exactly like with IKEA's model, the company saves on manufacturing labor and even shipping costs.
That makes sense. They don't have to pay someone to put it together,
I guess.
and they can ship it in a smaller box.
Exactly. Smaller, lighter, cheaper to ship.
That's a pretty big deal right there. Lower costs for them could mean more competitive prices for us.
Absolutely.
Or better profit margins for them.
Yeah, it's a win-win in a lot of ways.
It is.
But it doesn't stop at cost savings. The research actually indicates that people might value their own creations much more. I think the source even mentioned up to 5 times more
Wow.
than something comparable that's ready-made.
Really 5 times.
That's a huge jump in perceived value.
That's incredible.
It is. It's really powerful.
So customers are potentially happier,
Yeah.
might even be willing to pay more.
Exactly.
And the business saves money. Sounds like a pretty powerful combination.
It's a pretty potent recipe for success.
It definitely is. And this also gives businesses a real edge over the competition.
Sure.
If your competitors are only offering fully assembled products,
Right.
and you're providing an engaging experience where customers get to be a part of the creation,
Yeah.
you can really stand out and attract customers who value that sense of ownership and accomplishment.
It's a differentiator for sure.
Okay, so we've talked about effort justifying our work.
Right.
That mental pat on the back we give ourselves and feeling capable.
Yeah.
But the source material also touched on how our identity and how we express ourselves come into play.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
So how does that link to the IKEA effect?
This is where the power of customization really comes into focus. When you give customers the ability to personalize a product, whether it's choosing the color of their new phone case or the specific blends in their coffee subscription.
Or putting their initials on it.
Yeah, exactly. It transforms the item from just a generic product into something that reflects their individual tastes and becomes an extension of who they are.
Right, it becomes an expression of themselves.
Exactly. It's like saying, this isn't just a product, it's my product designed by me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we tend to have a stronger connection and a higher appreciation for things that feel unique to us, things that align with our personal style and how we see ourselves.
Like it reflects our identity.
Exactly.
And this emotional connection further strengthens how much we value it.
It definitely reinforces that sense of value.
And then there's the social side of things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Showing off what you've made.
Bragging rights.
Absolutely.
When we co-create something, it gives us an opportunity to signal our competence to others.
It's like, look what I did.
Exactly. Think about someone proudly showing off a piece of furniture they assembled or a gourmet meal they put together from a kit.
Yeah.
Saying, I made this, can definitely earn praise and even subtly boost our social standing.
It's like, hey, look what I'm capable of.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just individual bragging rights. When people work together on DIY projects like friends assembling furniture or participating in a group crafting activity.
You can Pinterest party.
Yeah, exactly. It can foster a sense of community around the product, making it even more meaningful because it's tied to a shared experience.
So all these different psychological levers are at play, making us feel more attached to and value things we've invested effort in. But is there solid evidence to back all this up?
Oh yeah, there's a good body of research behind it.
Okay.
The foundational studies by Norton, Moshon, and Ariely are really important here. Their experiment involving assembling IKEA boxes is quite well known.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that one.
They found that people were willing to pay significantly more for the IKEA boxes they had assembled themselves compared to identical ones that were already put together.
Wow.
Something like a 4-fold difference in price.
So they were willing to pay 4 times as much for the one they built themselves.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
That's a pretty significant difference for the exact same end product.
It really is. And their origami studies were even more dramatic, showing that people value their own somewhat wonky paper creations.
Oh, that's
up to 5 times higher than objectively identical ones made by experts.
wow. So we think ours are better even if they're not.
Even if they're objectively worse.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it really highlights how even a small amount of effort can drastically inflate our perception of value.
And this isn't just people saying this, they were actually willing to pay more for it.
They put their money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
Crucially, these studies also pointed out that the feeling of completion is essential.
Okay.
If the project is left unfinished, that same boost in value doesn't really materialize.
That makes sense. There's no closure.
Yeah, you need to have that sense of having completed the task.
So we need to have that sense of closure of actually having finished the task to experience the full effect.
Absolutely. You got to cross the finish line.
And what's interesting is that this isn't just a quirk of Western culture.
Right.
Research across different cultures suggests that the IKEA effect is present worldwide in both individualistic and collectivist societies.
Yeah. Seems to be a pretty universal human thing.
While the way people express pride in their creations might vary, the fundamental tendency to value our own efforts more seems to be a pretty universal human trait.
Yeah. We all like to feel good about what we've accomplished.
And the sources even mention some neurological evidence for this.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets really cool.
So tell me about this.
Using brain imaging techniques, researchers have found that when we create something, it activates the reward centers in our brain,
Wow.
triggering the release of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation.
So we get a little dopamine hit from building stuff.
Exactly. It feels good.
That's interesting.
And areas like the nucleus accumbens, which plays a key role in how we perceive value and reward,
Uh-huh.
also show increased activity. It's like our brain is giving us a little positive reinforcement for our efforts.
So it's not just a feeling, there's an actual biological basis for this increased valuation.
Yeah, we're wired to appreciate our own creations.
However, it's important to note that the IKEA effect isn't a guaranteed outcome in every situation.
Right, there's some nuances here.
What do you mean?
The research also highlights several factors that can influence how strong it is. The difficulty of the task is one. If something is so challenging that it leads to significant frustration, it can actually diminish or even reverse the effect.
Yeah, I could see that if you're just getting angry and frustrated the whole time, you're not going to like it very much.
Exactly. It becomes a negative experience.
Right.
Conversely, if it's too easy, there isn't enough sense of accomplishment to trigger the effect strongly.
Because there's a sweet spot.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot of being challenging enough to be rewarding, but not so difficult that you just want to throw it in the bin.
Like Goldilocks.
Exactly.
Our individual attitudes towards DIY also play a role.
Yeah, some people just love building things.
Right. Some people love that sense of accomplishment.
While others would rather just buy it pre-assembled.
Absolutely.
And that's fine too.
It is.
Our level of expertise can also influence things. Someone who's skilled in a particular area might have a different experience than a complete beginner.
Right. If you're already good at something, it might not be as satisfying to build a basic version.
Exactly. You might need a bigger challenge.
And even our emotional state while we're working on the project can matter.
Oh, for sure.
If we're stressed or in a bad mood, it can definitely dampen the positive feelings associated with finishing.
Absolutely. If you're already having a bad day, the last thing you need is to struggle with putting together some furniture.
So businesses need to keep these moderating factors in mind when they're thinking about leveraging the IKEA effect. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. It needs to be tailored to the specific product and target audience.
Okay, now let's look at some concrete examples of how businesses are actually putting this into practice. IKEA itself is the most obvious and iconic example, of course.
Oh yeah, they're the poster child for the IKEA effect.
Right. Their entire business model seems to be built, at least in part, on this very effect.
Exactly. Their flat pack self-assembly design isn't just about streamlining shipping and reducing costs. It deliberately involves the customer in that final stage of bringing the product to life.
It makes them a part of the process.
Exactly.
And their detailed yet generally achievable assembly instructions are crucial for ensuring that customers feel a sense of accomplishment rather than pure frustration.
Yeah, those little diagrams can be a lifesaver.
I know, I've spent many an hour staring at them.
Interestingly, many IKEA customers actually report enjoying the process.
I can see that there's a certain satisfaction in figuring it out.
Yeah, it's like solving a puzzle.
And it definitely fosters a sense of connection to the product.
Absolutely.
You've spent an hour or two wrestling with Allen wrenches to build that bedside table.
Right.
You're probably going to value it more than if it just magically appeared in your bedroom fully assembled.
Yeah, there's no story there with a pre-assembled piece.
Exactly.
But the IKEA Effect's reach extends far beyond furniture.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about Build-A-Bear Workshop, where kids get to actively participate in creating their own personalized stuffed animals.
Oh, that's a good one.
It creates a really strong emotional bond.
Yeah, they're not just buying a teddy bear, they're making a friend.
Exactly.
And meal kit services like HelloFresh tap into this by providing the ingredients and step-by-step instructions for creating a meal,
Right.
leading to a sense of culinary achievement for the customer.
Yeah, it's like I made this delicious meal from scratch.
Even though they didn't really?
They followed the instructions.
They put in the effort.
Exactly.
And the technology sector has its examples too, doesn't it?
For sure.
Like being able to customize your own computers or gadgets online.
Yeah, allowing users to configure hardware and software to their specific needs and preferences give them a greater sense of ownership and control over their technology.
That makes sense.
And in the digital world, we're seeing initiatives like IKEA's Co-Create IKEA program,
Yeah, I was reading about that.
which invites customers to contribute their ideas and feedback on new designs.
So they're going beyond just the physical assembly
Exactly. They're tapping into the broader concept of co-creation.
and involving customers in the creative process at different stages.
Right. It's about making them feel like they're a part of the brand.
That's a really clever way to broaden the effect.
It is. And brands are increasingly using online forums, social media platforms, and beta testing programs to gather customer input and suggestions, essentially turning their customers into creative collaborators.
That's a really interesting approach.
It is.
And it seems like it would have a lot of benefit.
Oh, absolutely. This not only fuels innovation, but also strengthens that feeling of shared ownership, which often leads to increased customer loyalty and more repeat purchases among those involved.
So it's a win-win for both the brand and the customer.
It's all about building those strong relationships.
So there are different degrees of customer involvement, ranging from the physical act of assembly to contributing ideas for future products. The source material actually breaks these down into different categories of co-creation, right?
Yes, it does. We see assembly-based co-creation, which is the classic IKEA model.
Right, like actually putting the pieces together. Yeah.
Exactly. Then there's design-based co-creation, where customers actively customize the features or aesthetics of a product, like those personalized sneakers we discussed.
Right, where they get to choose the colors and the materials.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's feedback-based co-creation,
Okay.
which involves soliciting customer opinions and reviews to help improve existing products or develop new ones.
So getting feedback from customers to make things better.
Exactly. And finally, there's community-based co-creation,
Okay.
where customers work together in online forums or groups to shape the direction of a product or brand.
So like a crowdsourcing approach.
Exactly.
And all these different forms of involvement contribute to that feeling of value and ownership in slightly different ways.
Right. Each approach taps into different psychological levers.
And there's a whole value chain associated with co-creation, starting with the initial idea, moving through the execution phase, and ultimately leading to tangible benefits for both the business and the customer.
Yeah, it's a collaborative journey.
For businesses, this can translate into cost savings, increased customer loyalty, and a valuable stream of innovative ideas.
Yeah, you're getting all those great ideas from your customers.
Right.
And for customers, it's about getting more personalized products, feeling a greater sense of satisfaction, and experiencing that rewarding feeling of pride in what they've helped to create.
It's really a win-win.
It's all about creating value together.
It really seems to hinge on creating that optimal experience, making it engaging and rewarding without becoming overly difficult or frustrating.
Absolutely. You want to hit that sweet spot.
So how do you do that?
Providing clear, easy-to-follow instructions, ensuring the right tools are available for physical assembly, and even celebrating customer achievements by encouraging them to share their creations online can really amplify the positive effects of the IKEA effect.
So it's about supporting them through the process.
Exactly.
And making them feel good about what they've accomplished. So if a business is listening to this and thinking, okay, this IKEA effect sounds powerful, how do we actually start implementing this? What are some practical first steps they can take?
That's a great question, and the source material offers some excellent starting points.
Okay.
When it comes to product design, thinking about modularity, creating products from components that can be easily combined and assembled is a great initial step.
So thinking about how things can be broken down into smaller pieces.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And absolutely crucial is ensuring that you have clear, concise, and easy-to-follow instructions.
No one wants to deal with a confusing instruction manual.
Exactly. It should be a pleasurable experience, not a frustrating one.
Right.
Businesses also need to carefully consider the right balance between what is pre-assembled and what is left for the customer to do.
Okay, so finding that sweet spot again?
Exactly.
Not too much, not too little.
Exactly. And user testing of prototypes that involve customer assembly can provide invaluable feedback and help identify any potential pain points in the process.
So get feedback early and often.
Yeah, that's key.
And marketing has a significant role to play in this as well.
Okay,
Right? You need to effectively communicate the benefits of this co-creation approach to your customers.
Yeah, you need to sell them on the idea.
Bill, how do you do that?
Highlighting the fun, the sense of personal touch, and the feeling of accomplishment that comes with customization or assembly is key. Sharing authentic stories from satisfied customers who have enjoyed the co-creation process, showcasing what they've built and how proud they are, can be incredibly persuasive. And fostering online communities where customers can share their experiences, offer tips, and connect with each other can really build engagement and a sense of belonging.
So it's about creating a community around the brand.
Exactly, and showcasing the positive experiences that people are having.
What about the role of physical and digital spaces in supporting this?
That's a great question. IKEA showrooms are a fantastic example of a physical space designed not just to display products, but also to inspire and provide practical guidance on assembly.
Right. You can see how things fit together and get a feel for the materials.
Exactly. Other businesses might consider hosting in-store workshops or setting up creation stations where customers can get hands-on experience.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's about creating those interactive experiences.
And in the digital realm, interactive online configurators that allow customers to visualize their customized products in real-time augmented and virtual reality tools that can help them visualize the final assembled product in their own space.
Yeah, those are really powerful tools.
And of course, seamless social sharing platforms are all valuable tools.
Exactly. It's about making it easy for customers to share their creations and connect with others.
And even artificial intelligence can play a role by offering personalized design suggestions based on a customer's stated preferences.
Yeah, AI is becoming increasingly sophisticated in its ability to personalize experiences.
So it's really about integrating this co-creation philosophy across all the different ways a customer interacts with your brand,
Absolutely.
both online and offline.
It's a holistic approach.
Now let's circle back to the business benefits. We've touched on cost savings and that increase in perceived value, but there are other significant advantages, aren't there?
Oh yeah, there are a lot of benefits to be gained from co-creation.
Like what?
Actively involving customers in the creation process really strengthens the overall customer relationship.
Right. It makes them feel like they're a part of something.
Exactly. It fosters those emotional connections, leading to higher rates of customer retention and increased word-of-mouth recommendations.
Because happy customers are more likely to come back and tell their friends.
Exactly.
We also see substantial benefits in terms of innovation and product development.
Oh, for sure.
By directly engaging with customers and observing how they interact with the assembly or customization process, companies gain invaluable insights that can lead to better product designs, faster iteration cycles, and ultimately a reduced risk of introducing products that don't resonate with the market.
Yeah, you're essentially getting real-time feedback from your target audience.
That's really valuable.
It is.
And it's also a way to really set yourself apart from the competition.
Absolutely. These co-creation experiences are often difficult for competitors to simply replicate. Building a strong community around your brand through these initiatives can create a unique brand identity and foster deep customer loyalty, making it less likely for your customers to switch to a competitor. It becomes a real barrier to exit.
So the advantages for the business are pretty compelling. But what about the customers themselves? What do they gain beyond just the finished product?
The psychological rewards for customers are significant. There's that tangible sense of pride and accomplishment that comes from building or creating something with their own effort.
Yeah, I can see that.
This can provide a real boost to their self-esteem and sense of competence. And of course, the personalization and customization aspect means they end up with products that truly fit their unique tastes and needs, which can be incredibly satisfying.
That feeling of this was made for me by me must be pretty powerful.
It's a great feeling.
And because they've invested their time and effort into the process, they tend to perceive a higher value in the finished product and feel a greater sense of overall satisfaction. Plus, in some cases, they might even acquire new skills or learn something new in the process, adding another layer of benefit.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn and grow.
It sounds like a really positive feedback loop of engagement and value creation for everyone involved.
It can be a beautiful thing.
So looking ahead, how do you see the IKEA effect and the broader trend of co-creation evolving in the future?
That's a great question. Technological advancements are likely to be a major driving force. Artificial intelligence could play a role in offering increasingly personalized design suggestions and even guiding customers through complex assembly processes. Augmented and virtual reality technologies could provide immersive new ways to visualize and even virtually build products before physical creation. And the continued advancement of 3D printing could potentially enable more localized or even at-home manufacturing of certain product components.
Wow, that's a really fascinating vision of the future.
It is. It's exciting to think about all the possibilities.
It is?
And sustainability concerns will also likely play a significant role. Products that customers have invested time and effort into creating are often valued more, and therefore less likely to be discarded quickly, potentially contributing to a more sustainable consumption model.
That's a really important point.
It is. We need to be thinking about the environmental impact of our consumption habits.
Absolutely.
And brands could even tap into co-creation to find innovative new uses for older products, fostering a more circular economy.
I like that.
Yeah, it's about finding creative ways to extend the life of products.
And the interconnectedness of the internet really opens up possibilities for global collaboration and co-creation, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Online forums, maker networks, and global design competitions can connect individuals from all over the world, bringing together diverse perspectives and fostering innovation on a truly global scale.
It sounds like the potential for the IKEA effect and co-creation is really just beginning to be explored.
It does feel like we're just scratching the surface.
And ongoing research continues to delve deeper into the psychological underpinnings of these phenomena, explore the long-term effects on brand loyalty, investigate the neurological responses to co-creation, and develop better tools for measuring the true impact of these initiatives.
Yeah, there's still a lot to learn, but it's a fascinating area of study.
So as we've explored, the IKEA effect is a powerful principle that extends far beyond the realm of flat-pack furniture. By truly understanding the psychology behind effort and creation, businesses have a significant opportunity to cultivate deeper levels of customer engagement and enhance the perceived value of their offerings.
It's all about tapping into that human desire to create and to feel a sense of ownership.
So what should our listeners be thinking about right now?
They should be asking themselves how they can leverage the IKEA effect in their own businesses.
How can they get their customers more involved in the creation process? Exactly. Take a look at your current products and customer interactions. Are there opportunities, even small ones, to involve your customers more directly in the creation process? Could you introduce more customization options, actively solicit their feedback on new designs, or even gamify certain aspects of their experience with your brand? The potential for forging stronger customer connections and boosting perceived value is truly significant. This deep dive into the IKEA effect has hopefully given you a solid foundation for exploring how you can strategically leverage these powerful psychological drivers in your own e-commerce endeavors.
This deep dive was powered by Growth Suite.
It was indeed.
Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store.
Yep.
Test it for free on your Shopify store.
Easy peasy.
Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Give it a try.
All right, well, that was a fascinating deep dive into the IKEA effect.
It was. I always learn something new on these deep dives.
Me too.
And I hope our listeners did as well.
I'm sure they did. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of e-commerce psychology.
See you then.